Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gaspers, and I'm with Boomer.
Well, just here enjoying the podcast and waiting for the tip-off of the Iowa-Creighton game, the Iran-Iraq war of college basketball for us here.
Okay. And I'm also with Redcast Rob. What other?
I'm
How can you top that, Rob?
You know what? I got nothing. No, I was just thinking to myself how happy I was that it's college basketball season. Arizona defeats Duke in a huge matchup last Friday. And not only that, but Nebraska men's basketball is 3-0 for the first time in the Harburg era. And not only that, but they've covered the spread all 3 times.
The Heinrich Harburg era? He's playing basketball now?
I said Hoiberg, didn't I? Did I say Harburg?
No, that's okay.
I meant Hoiberg. Sorry, man. We can get to Heinrich Harburg soon enough, but I meant Hoiberg.
I mean, there's similar last names. I will give you that.
Yeah, and he is technically correct. This is the first time men's basketball has been 3-0 in the Harburg era too. So.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, is it Novacek? Is it Novacek? Is it Steenberg? Is it Steinberg? I just can't get it.
It's true. Tomatoes. Point is, Rob, yes, Nebraska basketball is off to a good start. Strength of schedule may not be quite where it needs to be, but that's going to start to change very soon. I think they still have Stony Brook. Now, Stony Brook is the Stony Brook University that went to the Final Four not that long ago, right, Boomer? So
I don't know how long ago it was, but yeah, it's the Stony Brook University. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a formidable foe. I don't care if they have a RPI in the 200s. They've had more success in the tournament than us by far. And then we'll start Big Ten play here before you know it. But before we get to Nebraska basketball, we have plenty of football still to talk about. And the Huskers did suffer another difficult defeat, this time at home against Maryland, and where the offense just simply could not get out of their way again with 5 total turnovers. And I do want to know what team has actually had more quarterbacks throw an INT in one game than what we did with 3 quarterbacks and each one throwing an interception. Boomer, when will the madness ever end?
Well, in a few weeks for sure, but that's
sorry.
Yeah,
you got me there, Boomer. You got me there.
I mean that whole game was just. I think everyone was speechless by the end of it. It's just insert quarterback, watch them turn the ball over. It was just incredible how much that happened, and you couldn't write it and expect. Yeah, if you were writing this for a sitcom, or nobody would believe you, or straight to video movie.
Yeah. This is like Minnesota State.
Nobody would believe this would happen. Every quarterback you put in there, they just turn the ball right over. And the disappointing part was this was even a game the defense generated a good solid number of turnovers. I mean, 3 turnovers led to all 10 of our points.
Got 10 points out of it.
Scoring drive from Maryland on our own 6. So I mean.
Yeah,
you think you generate 3 turnovers and get points off of them, you think you'd be fine in that case. But when you counter that with 5 turnovers, that's a problem. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right, well, the show we've got a few questions, I believe, Boomer. We'll try to address that. We'll talk about offense and defense. Maybe we'll sprinkle in a little Nebraska ball and get to the betcast at the end. Let's start with scarlet colored glasses and talk all things Husker football and Rob, let's before we dive into those questions, maybe you will help us talk a little bit more about what we saw on Saturday and what we expect this coming Saturday in Madison. You are the Kool-Aid guy, so tell me how we're still making a bowl game.
Well, we're going to win this week.
All right, I like it.
And we're going to beat Iowa. I mean, how
that would make everyone forget.
Seriously, though, Dave. I mean, it's literally the most simple of calculations. Don't turn the ball over. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you would think that that'd be something that is put at a premium, and yet somehow we continue to find ways to screw that up. And it's like there's one quarterback on the team. Again, I can't throw individuals under the bus, but there's one quarterback under the team that I would be on the team that I would be happy to never see play another down in a Nebraska uniform ever again. I had high hopes for the young man at one point, and at this point, I hope that he gets calluses from holding a clipboard. It's and I get it. Like Heinrich is also turn the ball over, but there's some kind of productivity with him while he's on the field in other scenarios. And Chubba, when he led that drive down the field, and if you want, we can get into that play call on third down. I'm not happy with it. I've said my piece. I think I've made peace with it at this point. But I cry because I'm sad. I smile because I care. It might be, But,
well, Rob,
that drive was one of the cleanest drives that I've seen Nebraska's offense put together the entire season. He throws the ball much better. Did he throw that interception? Yes, but that was just a cluster F of that play should have never been called, in my opinion, because nobody running that play on 3rd and goal looked like they knew how that play was supposed to be run. You've got a 3rd-string quarterback, a freshman wide receiver who's supposed to be clearing out, and a guy who just came off the injured list who looked like maybe he wasn't quite sure exactly what was being called. Like they were afraid that they changed the play call's name or something because they were afraid that Michigan was on the other sideline or something. Like I have no idea what was going on there, but it was like watching, I don't know, what are those the Keystone Cops run around out there. I have no idea.
Boomer, what was the question I asked, Rob? I forget.
I have no idea either. Like you asked me scarlet colored glasses and to be positive about it. And I
asked you how we were going to reach a bowl game, and you essentially gave me all the reasons why we shouldn't. Because
you know what, Dave, it's your fault, man. You brought me into this, Dave. You brought me into this. How are we going to win? We're going to win one more game, is what we're going to do, Dave. That's how we're going to do it.
No,
are we going to win one more game? I sure as hell hope so, but I thought we were going to win one more game 2 games ago. And I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind.
Let's start there. I'm going to throw it to Boomer so Redcast Rob can take a deep breath because this reminds me. You sent a text to us earlier this week saying I'm still mad about Saturday. I can sense that from you. I can sense some angst. But we're a very professional podcast here, and let's keep on the high ground. Yes. So Boomer. If I would ask that question to you, how is Nebraska gonna win one of these 2 games? I think Rob was onto something there with playing a clean game, but how does the coaching staff help this team try to play at least a cleaner version of Nebraska football on Saturday in Madison?
Yeah, that's exactly what it has to be. It has to be a clean game, and we're partially there. Like these last couple of weeks, I mean. Penalties have not been a problem. We've had
amazing
1 penalty last week or against Maryland, and did we have any against Michigan State?
No, we've been 1 in the last 8 quarters.
Yeah, and even those were the pass interference penalty. All right, that's during the game. It happens. We're not seeing those false starts. We're not seeing the delays of game. We're having to take timeouts to get a play in coming out of a commercial break or
field goal. We take some timeouts to avoid some delay games,
but it hasn't been terrible. They haven't been just awful. So that part of the game's been cleaned up, but a lot of it does seem to be the turnovers that we're generating. And again, I know this has kind of been the debate on Husker Twitter over the last few days is, are we calling plays that are best suited for the players we have on the field, putting them in a position to win? And I think it's true. We have quarterbacks that have athletic talent. I don't know if they're all currently superstar quarterbacks. Well, I don't think anyone would say they are, but
sure.
Are we asking them to run plays that they're just not quite capable of doing at this stage?
To a group of receivers that are also very inexperienced.
To the group of receivers that are young, inexperienced, they're thrown in here. Probably weren't expecting to have to play this year, but they do. And with the guys we have that are injured and our patchwork running back core, are we asking too much of what we have out there? And I think that's been the big debate on Husker Twitter. Yeah. So I think the first thing is you have to keep the penalties under control, which they've done the last couple of weeks. it sounds so obvious. You got to cut down on turnovers, but you call plays that put you in a better position when you're not throwing those interceptions, where you're not just heaving balls up there to looks like they're punts essentially, or you're playing a game of 500 or whatever in the background, just throwing it up there and seeing who catches
a few of them looked like.
Yeah, they kind of looked that way. So maybe do we dial that back a little and give Emmett Johnson more than 17 touches a game? Can he do 20, 25 possibly even? Do something like that, because you look at Wisconsin and I know we've said this about Maryland and Michigan State, so we seem to be the slump busters.
Be careful. Yeah.
But yeah, they are struggling, and they're kind of in a position where if you compare like Wisconsin and Nebraska, the situations we both went into this year, both starting new coaches, both kind of trying to change the culture there. But Wisconsin, I think, has a tougher challenge of changing that culture than Rule did, because there was nobody that realistically thought Frost should be here anymore this season.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an easy firing, as compared to, Paul Chryst getting fired mid-season or whatever it was last year in Wisconsin, kind of caught everyone off guard. And then you had
everyone thinking it was going to Leonard. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had the popular interim coach, Leonard. And we had the same thing with Mickey Joseph, but Leonard didn't get the job, and Joseph, didn't get the job either, but that kind of took care of himself with some off-field issues.
Yep,
so there isn't that group of loyalists, I think, to the old regime there, and that's a tough job for Fickle to step into. And I think you've heard a lot of that from Wisconsin. The fan base this week and players. Yep. There's some kind of dissension, and the ones that think they're putting effort into it, and some that aren't. And I've watched them play the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if that entire team is putting effort into this. So
it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
What happened last week versus Northwestern, where really the Wildcats kicked their butts in that first half. It was 24-3 or something like that.
Yeah, they did get their quarterback back, Northwestern. But then again, so did, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Mordecai was out
there.
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
Braylon Allen was back out there. He only got 3 carries, though, right?
Yeah,
so I'm sure there's talks about the Wisconsin OC right now, just like we're talking about Marcus Satterfield.
There's been a lot of talk about that, about just, are they too conservative and just playing everything too safe, and their offense hasn't looked good. So it is a team that I think.
So what you're telling me is how we're going to get to a bowl game is we're going to win this week because Wisconsin's vulnerable.
Yes.
It's deer season, and apparently no one's going to be there, and we're going to walk into Camp Randall on NBC primetime and steal a win, get to 6. And where I think of this essentially is with both these next 2 games, we just need to outdo what the other teams have done in the past to us. Wisconsin and Iowa, really out-Iowaing Iowa would potentially put you in that game, in the sense of
we did last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were more explosive last year, but I mean, literally, Iowa just doesn't do anything on offense and waits for the other team to mess up and get short fields and kicks field goals when field goals present themselves. And then they eventually break through. What was the last week game? They're up 3-0 at a half versus Rutgers. They end up winning 22-0 because it's like a war of attrition. That Iowa defense is going to hold you back. If you make them drive against that Iowa defense for all 80 yards, it's going to be tough. And eventually they get short fields and can score points. We have to figure out how to play that game. We seem to have an offense and a defense that are pretty much mirror images of that Iowa formula, but we refuse to actually, at least this one year, capitalize on what we have there. So, I do think we can win this Saturday, but they have to go out there and prove it, and the opportunity will be there. All right. Now, I think Rob is biting at the bit to talk about offense, because when I asked him a far more global question, he dove right into a 3rd and 6 at the goal line. So let's talk about our all things offense with the scoring explosion, which is anything but what we have as an offense right now. And Boomer, do we have any of those mailbag questions that might prompt some discussion and keep Rob at least a little more calm?
Yeah, I think so. First off, this is just kind of a general one that came out of here and kind of deals with the quarterbacks. And it's a hypothetical, and it's hard to say. But, how would Heinrich Hardberg be or look if Sims didn't take most of the first-team reps in spring and fall camp? Again, hypothetical, but...
Oh, that was on my I posted something today.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you think?
Who knows? I mean, honestly, it seems. It seems like
that's podcast gold, Rob.
Well, I mean, God, you want my hypothetical on a hypothetical.
Like simply
I feel
think
like
do you
one
feel
of the
like
things.
Harburg is going to be that much better if he is anointed the starter this spring and goes into next year? Will he suddenly make this huge jump?
I mean, is his arm motion going to get better? Is he gonna not have
Maybe.
happy? Is he gonna learn to not have happy feet in the pocket? Is he gonna learn to go through his progressions, like at least one or two of them? Like those
Sure,
are
sure.
three things
Those are all things that would need to do.
that he could learn to do better in the spring or
Mhm.
maybe even in bowl practices.
Yeah.
You know, and so I mean, sure, reps with the first team are always going to be better for any player, but counterpoint to that, most of the players that he was probably throwing to on the second and third teams when he was out there practicing this spring are on the field right now. So,
Yep, it's true.
you know, there's that many injuries that we've had to where he's probably throwing to the guys he's been throwing to all along. So, I mean, that it's you know what, question asker, it's really hard. It's really hard to know because, you know, maybe there something changed in his throwing motion and. You know, it's
I
hard.
think he's had that
He's
throwing
6'5"
motion
and
the
he
whole
throws.
time.
Yeah, but wasn't he throwing over the top in high school or something? Like, I don't know. I remember somebody
don't know.
saying that at one
That
point.
I don't
so.
know. Yeah.
I mean, so does that answer that question though? I mean, I feel like maybe not because like I say, he's been playing with a lot of
Yeah,
players
I
he's
think
already
what
playing
your
with.
answer tells me, Rob, is that it's obviously a nuanced answer, but it's not just about Heinrich Harburg, but who's actually coaching him to improve his footwork, improve his throwing motion, to improve his ability to read a defense, to go through his progressions,
Yeah.
right? And the question is, do we think that Marcus Satterfield giving him all of his attention over the next 9 months would make a dramatic difference? I don't know. That's the question I have in my head because if we remember our hiring of the staff, which took a few weeks to or longer really, there was rumors out there that one of the folks that Matt Rule had eyed to be maybe co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach was Jake Peets, former Husker, who is highly regarded in that field and is still in the NFL with the Rams. He chose to stay with the Rams last year. Now maybe that might change again. The Rams are struggling again, so maybe he might reconsider.
He might get fired. You know what I mean?
Another
like,
offer, right? You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, fired, even I think if you asked Rule on a lie detector test, was Marcus Satterfield his first choice to be quarterbacks coach? I think it's pretty hard to think that he would have to say no. I had someone else in mind for that. So could they tweak? I mean, he made it very clear in his press conference this week that Marcus Satterfield is going to be the OC, not just this year, but going forward.
Yeah.
They want to keep the same nomenclature and all those type of things. And he believes in the offense that Satterfield runs, even though he's never produced better than a top 71 offense. But I think it could be helped a lot if he had a dedicated quarterbacks coach or someone that is at least more focused on that. And that could be something they could do some tweaking to the offensive staff. At least that's what comes to mind. So
yeah,
maybe. I guess my answer to that question. Go ahead, Boomer.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and answer yours, Dave.
I just wrap that up. It's like
Mm-hmm.
just to wrap that up. I guess I don't know if it would have made a difference this year because I just don't know if even Jeff Sims had the right coach for what he needed. But maybe going forward, we might have the right type of dedicated staff to help develop our quarterbacks because I think this year has made it very clear that you need more QB development in this type of program. And I have one more thought on that, but I can get back to it. Boomer, go ahead.
Yeah, that was kind of gonna lead into my question on that. It's kind of a tangent on that. I mean, do we think Sims was having these issues in practice? Summer ball or fall camp? I mean, I don't think we heard about it.
I don't think it's been my guess on that. Obviously not there. It's not a practice thing with Jeff Sims. It's when the lights turn on and the 80,000 people are there. And the proof is in the pudding. This is when we went all in on Jeff Sims, and I had arguments with Honky about this and how he handled our quarterback situation and why I wasn't as bullish on this team and why he thought we were going to go 9-3. And to his credit, we almost could have done that even with all the problems. We're only a few plays here or there from doing it.
Yeah.
Is that Jeff Sims has a track record of, I believe, 4 years of college starting QB play. He's a turnover machine the whole time. He's never
Dave,
had
you
a
were
good
right.
QB to INT
Here, I'm
ratio.
just gonna say you were right, Dave.
Right?
You were
I mean,
right.
the evidence was there, right?
Yeah, you were right.
Same thing with Marcus Satterfield. I don't necessarily think Marcus Satterfield's a horrible OC, and might be the type of right OC to play complementary football to what Matt Rule wants to do with his defense and win in the Big Ten. But to think that Marcus Satterfield is going to start producing top 50 offenses anytime soon, there's no evidence that that's going to happen. He might start producing top 70 offenses, which might be enough to be very competitive in the Big Ten.
It would be right now. That's absolutely.
But to think
true.
that we're going to have an explosive offense under Marcus Satterfield anytime soon, it would be contrary to all the evidence that is out there for his offensive system and play calling. So, yeah. So I would say that I don't think it was in practice. I think it was actually in the games, which would have given me the red flag. The concern I have with that, Boomer, and that was a good segue from what I was talking about, and where I was going to go was what's my concern is that I was looking at the transfer portal from last year, right? And like who was there last year? Who were the best quarterbacks to get, and what did they do this year, right? Because I mean, you can always look at Caleb Williams going from Oklahoma to USC and say like, oh wow, there's a transfer that wins the Heisman is going to be probably the number one pick in the NFL draft. So the top quarterbacks last year, Sam Hartman had a prolific career at Wake Forest, went to Notre Dame, doing okay, been a little banged up, but hasn't actually had a better season at Notre Dame than he did ever at Wake Forest, really. Devin Leary also came into the season injured. It now appears a little bit healthy for Kentucky and is performing a little bit better, but hasn't had a great year. Hudson Card, we played Hudson Card and beat Hudson Card. Shador Sanders, I would say that we house played him and he was pretty darn good. But he's a one-man show out there. Some guy named Walker Howard. Is he actually the Ole Miss starting quarterback? I don't know. Brennan Armstrong, who left Virginia to go to NC State to replace Devin Leary. He got benched in place of MJ Morris, who's now entered the transfer portal, likely will, and we may be in hot pursuit of him. So what I'm trying to get here is Tanner Mordecai. None of these guys like blew the doors off of anything this year, right? I would still take Sam Hartman, right, or some of these other guys, but it's not like last year's transfer class for QBs were stellar, right? Luke Altmaier for Illinois, and just goes on and on. Graham Mertz would be excited if we got this year's version of Graham Mertz in the transfer portal. Probably not. So
when did Penix go to Washington?
That's like 3 years ago.
Was it? Because that guy's been playing
sometime in the middle of his eighth college year. Or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, what you're hoping for is you get a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix or Caleb Williams, but with what this offense looks like right now and who do you have as your OC and quarterbacks coach, does that seem likely that we're going to draw someone of that caliber to Nebraska? I don't know. So Rob,
and to be fair too, Caleb Williams is a really bad example in that anyway, because he was a package deal. I mean, he was with Lincoln Riley, right? He's Lincoln Riley's kid. He brought him with him to USC. I mean, he's going from, how often do you see a Power 5 go to a Power 5 and be successful, right? Most of these kids go into the transfer portal from a Power 5 and end up somewhere in like a school of five or whatever they call it, the group of five, or like a FCS school, right? So it's not, so, I mean, to your point, Dave, which, by the way, I credit to you, man. I think that's the longest answer you've ever given on a Redcast in the history of the show. And so that was really impressive. But, yeah, I mean, again, like it's very rare. You find you just reeled off like 20 guys and maybe 3 of them are having success in Power 5 right now. And one of them, again, was like, he basically, moved away from mom with dad, to go to school. You know what I mean? Like that's what happened. Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma for the USC job, his dream job, and took his quarterback with him. And not only that, but Spencer Rattler didn't even stick around. You know what I mean? He even took off from Oklahoma. So, you know, it's like,
yeah, no,
it's really hard to find guys in the transfer
Spencer
portal,
Rattler.
and we need to figure out, like, you know, are the guys that we got coming in too, like, you know, we've got like a top 11 or whatever that competition was called, quarterback coming in as a freshman, you know, and
be a lot to put on his shoulders.
It really would, but you know, he's playing high level football, high school football. I get it, but it's high level high school football, and he's being very consistent. He's having a great season this year, if I'm thinking correctly, right? And so, you know, and it seems, and as you know, like a lot of these schools try to run the same kind of systems that Nebraska, right? Isn't that kind of a tradition in the state of Nebraska?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case right now. I don't know.
You know, but
I'm not that familiar with Bellevue West, but I think it's probably.
Well, he's got legs, he can throw, and you know, and
more traditional quarterback that has mobility. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know, I mean, I guess looking at the quarterback room today and looking at who's going to be back, I do think it's likely that Harburg will be here and have a chance to develop. I do think that Chubba Purdy likely will be back. I'll be really intrigued if he starts this week. It sounds like, you know, he has a groin issue that needs to be addressed in the off season, but he did scramble and looked, you know, to run on that one drive. He's had those drives before, Boomer, if I remember right, last year or the year before when he started the game. I can't remember when that was. He had some success, limited success on a drive or two, and then struggled for kind of the rest of the game. He does have a live arm though, and he looks like he might be the answer on Saturday. Who's your best bet on who's starting on Saturday?
Yeah, it was interesting the way, you know, Rule put it. I think it was Rule when he mentioned that, you know, you've got Harburg with a bad ankle sprain. You've got, like you said, Chubba Purdy with a groin issue, and you've got Sims healthy, and we're still figuring out who the starter is going to be. Well, that kind of tells you their opinion of one of the.
It's awfully hard to trust Jeff at this point.
Yeah, you hate to call him out or say that on this.
Yeah, it really is. It does.
It is. I think they're going to go with. I mean, I'll think if Harburg thinks he can go, they'll start him. But they'll keep him on a fairly short leash, and if they feel the need to put Purdy in, they'll do that. So I think they might think that Harburg might give him the best chance to win just with general mobility. But if he's not mobile, then
if Harburg can't run,
you can't rely on
figure that out quick
the entire game. Yeah, if he can't run and he doesn't have the speed that, you know, just the straight, you know, up the field speed that he does have, then I think they'll go to Purdy fairly quickly. If that's the,
I think they might go to Purdy right away on that one, Boomer. I think it's
possible. Yeah, again, I think it just depends on the health of both of them. I don't know how how Harburg's ankle is and how Purdy's groin
because
is.
I think from Purdy's perspective, I don't know how bad the groin injury is, but I mean, this is his opportunity to kind of almost put his claim to the starting job next year, right? I mean, if he could come out and win a game or two here.
But then I do wonder, but then I do also wonder, you know, how many reps has he gotten in practice? Because, you know, if Sims was the starter most of the season, and then Harburg kind of cemented that second job, and you know, how much time must be serious enough. Are we throwing him out there and, you know, to the wolves already? I don't know. So that's a question too they have to ask. I don't know. So what? You know, how much of the playbook is he ready for? How much is he ready to mesh with these receivers and the running backs that we have now?
I mean,
I don't know.
At this point, though, Boomer, I mean, like, again, I mean, the point of we're not going to try to sit here and diss Jeff Sims. I mean, I don't know how Chubba could be at this point any rougher around the edges as a quarterback than Harburg has shown the last few weeks. Heinrich, all his credit, he's won 3 really big games for us there in a row, and has won games as a starter more than anyone else on this roster. But some of the throws he's missed so bad, you know, and he really needs a chance to step back and maybe see that. And it's tough being out there. So I don't know. It's going to be a difficult decision. And hard to say.
But
Rob,
I guess it adds a wrinkle that, you got to prepare for 3 quarterbacks when you play us. You never know who you're going to get.
Yeah.
So there we go.
they're all about the same, though. It's not like they play
don't
them.
kill the math.
I got an idea. Let's put them all on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the ball?
That's right.
Well, it might be Wisconsin at that point.
Yeah.
But anyways,
It would-
That's a good point, Boomer.
man.
So let's break down the 3rd and 6 a little bit, Rob, because you were going into it. And I just want to comment. We had someone watching the show from the
we're
Philippines.
officially
Did I say that right?
international right now. He's
Oh, we've been
watching-
international. We've had folks in stationed in the Middle East and whatnot, but Philippines, excellent. Very cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably military or otherwise I just don't
just-
want to know.
It could just be a Far East vacation.
On vacation, maybe chilling at home. I don't know what time it is in the Philippines right now. Maybe they're,
I'm sure
hanging
it's
out.
lovely. I don't know.
Waking up.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the 3rd and 6th play is perplexing, and I mean, it allows us to talk a little bit about Marcus Satterfield as well as not just the quarterback play, but the offense and how disjointed they looked almost all game. The fact that we looked really good on that drive. It seemed like Chuba Purdy was just kind of winging it for a while.
Honky even texted it was one of the nicest drives that he's seen this team put together all year, right? Like
it was kind of wild though. I mean, Chuba was just scrambling in every direction, and the throw to Kemp wasn't actually all that good, but it got the job done. And then Emma Johnson had a great run. Yep. As soon as he got tackled there, I was like, oh God, I wish he could have, got through, or Chuba the next play, right, where he gets 11 or something like that. I'm like, we need to score from outside the 20, right? Because I was like, as soon as it was 1st and goal to 6, I was like, okay, now this is where it's going to get hard for this team. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it seems like, and Rob, you listen to the press conferences, that Chuba actually kind of improvised on that 1st and goal play where it should have been a handoff, but he somehow took the ball and rolled out and just had to throw it out.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe he wasn't comfortable with whatever was going on there, and so he kind of moved.
Well, yeah, they were in the backfield right away. I don't know if a running play would have been any more effective. But,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like it was like
a
a broken play or something at that point, right? Like
a bit of a wasted down, and then we do hand the ball off to Johnson and lose a yard or two, right. Puts you in a difficult 3rd and 6. Now at that point, Boomer, if you're Iowa, if you're trying to play like Iowa, they are clearly just going to hand that ball off again. And if it breaks, it breaks. And if it doesn't, they are going to kick the field goal, and they're going to say, okay, you go ahead, Maryland. You figure out how to score against that defense with 75 yards to go in 3 minutes or so. But we did not.
Look who showed up.
Whoa!
Oh my God!
What's up, Honk?
Whoa! So is he in the Philippines? So
is it 11:35 a.m. on Wednesday where you are, Honky?
How's it going, Honk?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Redcasters. This was a little unexpected.
It was,
but I'm actually smiling.
I heard somebody was from the Philippines on. I kind of wanted to check out what you guys were talking about. So
yeah,
well, it's obviously pretty important that we're getting an international, crowd today. We were just talking about the infamous 3rd and goal to 6 play call and the lack of execution, right? Because it had so many things wrong with it. So, Honky, have you had more time to digest and replay that down over in your head about 1,000 times?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because it's an execution issue at the end of the day. I mean, as Rule said, that it's a pretty common play that just about any offense would run. But we've managed to make some pretty obvious plays look difficult when there's a lot of things that have to go right there. And, we have a little bit better routes run from the outside in. We probably are going to get the guy open. You have freshman receivers on the field. You've got a young QB in his first drive. I mean, there's just a lot of things there. And so I guess probably the strongest argument would be just let's get a little more conservative at the 5-yard line. Let's pound it.
Why put it out there? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And really even arguably would be a more damning play would have been, I think it was the first down where they thought they called the run, but he turned it into a run pass option, did something
Right.
that they weren't expecting him to, a la kind of the Armstrong back against Illinois back in 2015. It's like, if you really want to just make sure that this is a play where we're going to run the ball, we've got to be able to have it has to be so simplified in a call where you can't even turn it into something that you're not expecting it to be. I guess that would be my best advice there, especially when dealing with young guys like that. So, I mean,
I haven't played all year.
Yeah, I mean, when you're at the 5-yard line, which, by the way, Purdy, what a great drive that was. What a great job they did to get move 90 yards down the field. Because, I mean, I have as big of an issue with our starting field position as I do anything. We can't start a drive unless it's at our 3, 5, or 7, it seems like.
And that was after the fumble at like the 3-yard line, right? I mean,
yep. And so we start at which that actually was, thankfully we got the ball at the 3-yard line that time. It wasn't a punt, catch at the 5. This was the defense stepping up and making a play. But yeah, when you get down to the 5-yard line, there, if nothing else, the two things I really want to see is the clock continuing to move, and then you can get the touchdown. That's awesome. But man, if we pound it up the middle for 3 straight plays and we take 2 more minutes off the clock and you kick a field goal, then you're feeling pretty good where you're at least being up. So,
yeah, no, that's exactly right. It to your point of the execution of the play that was called, that's probably just as frustrating. I mean, like that it was executed that poorly, right? And that blame is laid on virtually everyone on that field. All 11 really didn't execute that play. But when I saw the play, live, I didn't even really recognize it as a corner route. Let's go into the pylon, right? I mean, the ball was thrown too far in. The route wasn't run correctly. Malachi doesn't really run his route correctly at all. Chubba's eyeing the play the whole time, and because Malachi is not really executing his route properly, his defender can eye Chubba, and Chubba's just staring down in this alley. So I can say all those things and sound like I'm blaming the players. I kind of blame the coaching staff to put them in that position, I guess. I just don't feel like that moment in time, that seemed to be like what you needed to do, right?
I think that's the biggest feedback I've heard against Satterfield, as much as anything, is in rule in this is
he didn't override the play call.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the head coach is responsible for all of it. But basically, it's not that the plays aren't there; they are. I mean, from the first play of some of those games earlier in the year that we've talked about, where like we threw the interception against, who was it, Northwestern or Purdue? I forget anymore. But the play's there, the play's open. Okay, I get it. It's not about if the play design is open; it's can we execute those plays. Now, to Rule's point, he has said multiple times they're not throwing these interceptions in practice. So, the idea is like, they're doing something different in the game than they are in practice. All I can say to answer that, since I'm not at practices, and I would say the same thing to Frost or any of our former coaches, is what are we doing in practice? How game-like are we making it, so that we can have as real of a feeling. You want to be able, as a coach, you want to be able to walk out of a practice and go, hey, these guys can run the play, and I feel like they can run it in a game, and if you don't feel that, then you got to either dumb things down or do things differently. Or I loved a lot of the option that we were running early in the season. But that's a you commit to that or you don't. I mean, you can't just sprinkle little bits of that in. So I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know exactly what we should be doing. There's parts that I really like. There's parts that look really good. That's one of the frustrating things too. And it's not like everything looks terrible. It's just your yards per point just couldn't be better shown than on that drive. Yeah, what a great drive! What an awesome 90 drive! 90 yards, and you walk away with 0 points and frustration.
Yeah. I mean, the 5 turnovers, everything just adds up to where, I mean, we've talked about this at length throughout the season, is the offense just needs to score 17 to 20 points and you're going to win a whole bunch of games. Well, we've got some examples here in the last several weeks where we just haven't been able to get to that number, right? And I think again this week, if we somehow can get to 20 points, and maybe that's because of a defensive score or a special teams play of some sort. I don't care how you get there, but I mean, if we can get to 20, we'll have a shot against Wisconsin, no doubt about it. But if we score 10 points again, you're probably going to get the same result.
Puts a lot of stress. I went back and was looking through some former seasons. It was when I sent you guys the Charlie Ward stats earlier today. But if you go back to 1988, our last two games, if you remember, it's the last season of Barry Switzer. We beat them 7-3, Oklahoma, and the week before that, we beat Colorado 7-0. If you went into the final 2 weeks of that season and said we're going to score 14 points on our last two games, you're probably thinking you're going 0-2. And, there we are. We beat them both. Held them both to 3 points combined. But that's a pretty rare deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that could be replicated because we got it. Yeah, that's the truth. Well, let's talk about some good things, and that is definitely on the defensive side of the ball. So let's throw the bones and talk about that Tony White defense. And they did about everything you could ask from them against a better offense, right? Maryland did produce some yards. They do have some playmakers. They have a quarterback that is talented, but at the end of the day, they only got their 13th point on the last play of the game. Boomer, what do you think about the defensive performance, and can they do it 2 more weeks?
There's no reason to think they can't. I mean, again, the performance here, they're performing well enough to win games with just a competent offense. We talked about Satterfield's offense. If they get to the 70s, that'll win you most of the games this season. We're not even, unfortunately, close to that, at this point in the stage. But, they're doing enough to win games. I mean, you're keeping Maryland to 10 points for most of that game. And, that last drive, Maryland, started running the ball reasonably well on that drive. I think the defense it's hard to keep that up for an entire game. And, they put together a good drive. They have had a few weaknesses where, teams can throw on them a little bit. Maryland had some success on that. Tagovailoa was a pretty mobile quarterback, and he kept himself pretty safe for most of that game. We didn't generate nearly the sacks I kind of hoped we would, like Penn State did. We managed 6. What do we have? 1 for sure. But I can
one was called back.
Yeah, so there weren't a lot, unfortunately. I'd hope for a little more pressure on him than we were able to generate. But still, overall, when you're holding teams to 10 points for most of the game, and like I said, we generated 3 turnovers, which led to 10 points for our offense in that third quarter, and stopped them from scoring at least a field goal, if not a touchdown, on that drive where they could have gone up, 17-10, and with 9 minutes to go in the game, that would have been killer for us. But they kept you in it, they put you in a position to win. I don't think you could ask anything more for it, and there's no reason to think they can't do it these next 2 weeks because the offenses they're going to be facing aren't even up to Maryland's snuff. So. I expect a similar performance these next couple of weeks, but again, it's just going to come down. Can we get complimentary football out of the other 2 phases of the game? So
that is the question, isn't it? Honky, what are you thinking on with this defense?
Well, I think it's important to get Quentin Newsom back. That was a big loss last week, an unexpected loss. It sounds like he got injured in practice, but having him back, Wisconsin is doing more of an air raid now too, so getting him back. But I was very proud and impressed with how Omar Brown stepped up. Javen Wright had an amazing game, and so some guys are stepping up there. We had plenty of young guys along the D line again, and then Nash and Ty Robinson. I mean, Robinson, he's playing himself into a draft pick here the way he's been the last few weeks, and Hutmacher. I just hope that I hope we have him for another season. I think he has
I think so. Yeah.
I think we'll get him back for another year. I think NIL can actually help play a role with that, and he's one of the guys that is doing well with NIL to begin with. So if he's a good example of NIL, if you can make 6 figures, 100,000, 150, whatever on NIL, or he can go into the draft and be a 5th round guy, maybe coming back for one more season and you're not being hurt, too badly financially, and get yourself up to a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. That can be more than worth it coming back for another season. So just a lot of guys stepping up, so many names, so many different guys making plays. I mean, how many guys have we had make tackles for losses this year? How many different, it's just been crazy how many players they've gotten out there
from, right? I mean, Williams comes out of nowhere.
midway through the year, and he's one of those guys that in June they brought in at the JUCO camp that they did. So, there's this frustrating part that, we've lost a few games in ways that we don't want to lose, but then I always am trying to keep in perspective the race to 6 idea, the idea of
that's
the
right.
bowl game is so important.
Just get to that.
You win one of these games, like, I'd be so ready to tweet out, after winning one of these games that, hey, Nick Saban went 7-6 his first year at Bama. Hey, Pete Carroll went 6-6 his first year at USC. Bob Stoops went 7-5 at Oklahoma. These blue blood rebuilds take a year or so. And what would give anyone the idea that Rule can't do this based off anywhere else he's been? If he can guess back to the bowl game in year 1, and he has shown to be a year 2 and year 3 build,
Yep.
My gosh, I mean, we are a quarterback away. And that quarterback, I think it's so important. I've seen so much frustration from people about the quarterback, but that quarterback can come from someone that's currently on the team and be developed. Yep. It can come from someone that we recruit, and can come from someone that we bring in with the portal. I think I was listening to you earlier, Dave. You guys had the discussion about all the different examples of portal quarterbacks that have worked and haven't. There's no guarantee any one thing is going to be it. And so I want to hedge my bets on having a lot of different options. I want to have
as many options as possible.
I want a portal guy.
He always was an option guy, though. Yeah.
Well, I am. But I want a portal guy coming in. I want Danny Kalen coming in. I want Harburg and Purdy back, and I want all 4 of them competing. And some, the cream will rise out of that. That's what I'd prefer to see, anyways. But I'm not ready to just throw away one player. Although I'll tell you, Sims's performance. This is about as bad of the turnovers he's had. That's just baffling. I feel bad for him. I genuinely feel bad for him, but man, that's been bad.
We could have Jake Sorensen on, and he was on kind of like where Sip's show, Sip and Bush, like kind of make that transition in the morning where like they're on with Sorensen.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God. There's a clip where Sorensen is just basically like, he's done. You know what I mean? Like, and
a lot of the local radio guys.
He was done. I mean, like, I've never heard a radio,
and it feels like
Nebraska
he was
radio
done.
Personality like call out a player by name like that and just basically say. But he was just like, he should never take another snap for the Huskers again. And I mean, I hate saying that kind of stuff, but it's like, if he's on the field, guess what? I'm rooting for him. I want him to
because
do
he might start this week. Right?
I mean, he might start this week.
Very well might start.
Yeah,
it's quite possible. And
the sad part is, he was in that third quarter when we got 10 points off the turnovers. He was the one that got us. He did. He actually was playing well for a little bit, or at least well enough to score, and then the turnover bug happens again.
I just feel I don't know what you do for his confidence. That's the thing. Is at some point,
him on the sideline, you're just like, geez.
Yeah, and this is where I'm not trying to be the guy that pile on. I'm not trying to be the radio guy who's just calling him out. It's just, but how do you have confidence after the results? I mean, it was 6 picks and 45 passes. I mean, it's, and then you have the fumbles on top of that. It's just, it's been a rough go for him, and I feel for him. I genuinely do, but I don't know how you play him either. I really don't. I mean, this is, and you saw that. Why did Purdy get out there? It was one more turnover, and eventually, Rule and them were sitting there going, we got to make a change.
Yeah. It's interesting this year. We don't have any, don't we typically have like a walk-on quarterback that's randomly be?
Well, we have like Longball, and then Longball was another one of those JUCO transfer guys.
We could use that right now, Longball.
Longball. And then like Jake or Jack Wokey or Walk or something. WOC.
I think it's Wokey or Walkie, yeah.
So we have, number 4 and number 5. I mean, if there was ever a season, if like a Logan Smothers could have stuck around, this would have been.
Oh, honky. Oh,
I mean, that would have been an ideal guy for what they're trying to do.
He would have fit the offense. He was, I mean, to your point, Casey Thompson wouldn't have fit this offense, but Logan Smothers would have been a perfect fit for what they've been trying to do for almost the entire year. And he would have been someone who was at game time experience. And it just Logan Smothers, we would have our 6th win already, I believe. I truly do.
I would agree.
Yeah. So
goes back to the point. He's one of those guys that was in the portal, and now he's playing in that. What is that, like a
Jacksonville State?
Jacksonville State. So.
I get it's the back to the point that Honky and I are aligned on here is that we need as many options at that quarterback position going into 2024 as possible, right? And I wish we would have had one more option this year in the name of Logan Smothers, because I think
no pun intended.
That's right. Because I just, get two guys from the portal. I don't care. I mean, like, get one that's got a year of eligibility and one that's got 3, right? I mean, like, figure out something, right? I mean, Ole Miss took both. Some guy, I can't remember his name, like Walker somebody or other, Walker Howard. They also got Spencer Sanders. Remember, Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State had a very successful career there.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was getting pushed out. He left. He went to Ole Miss. He played a little bit last week randomly, but he's barely played down there. I'm like, Spencer Sanders was also somewhat turnover prone, but I don't think he was as bad as Jeff Sims. And it had some flashes, right? I mean, I would take a Spencer Sanders. That'd be good enough, right? But it's like, take two guys out of the transfer portal. I don't care. I want competition and figure it out. And it might be someone on the roster today. It might be a freshman. It might be someone who comes in in the portal.
I've been doing my yoga and flexibility exercises at the gym. I was thinking maybe driving out.
I don't think you have eligibility, Ron.
Well, and they want someone over. They want someone over 5'5" too. So I mean that would, I think. Dude,
but like Honky, we're like the same height.
I didn't offer my services up, did I?
Well, I mean. Harbor kind of throws from the side like he's 5'5". So.
I know. We throw from the same height. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned, Dave, Oklahoma State. I mean, just imagine for a moment, to your point of like getting 2 transfers, imagine a kid like Zane Flores, who hasn't exactly worked his way up the depth chart there at Oklahoma State. They have a number of quarterbacks in front of him right now. Now, he may be loving Stillwater and no interest in coming back. Or let's say he decides, hey, I want to get into the portal. And you could go after a guy like that, which is essentially – it's recruiting a player from a year ago, just getting him through the portal.
So freshman, you're getting
your number there, but then you also can go after an older guy, someone that's 2, 3, 4 years out of high school, whatever, and you get a transfer like that. And if you can bring those 2 guys in, if you can bring in Danny Kalen, if you can, keep Purdy and Harburg, and at least through an off season, let them work it out. And you may not keep every single one of them by next season, but that's what I want to see right now as much as anything. They've got to get it figured out. There's no doubt we can't have a second season of this kind of QB situation. We've seen how restless Husker Nation is in year one, and I do my best as one little guy there to try to preach a little bit of calm. Let's not fire the OC and bring in our 5th OC in 6 years. That doesn't tend to. That and that's what Rule was having to answer against in his presser this week. He was having to answer against making changes and let's change the language one more time and bring in a new OC. And it's like, let's be a developmental program.
I think most Husker fans get that. They do also understand what good football looks like, and they know that what they've seen on the offensive side has not met that expectation, at least this year. And I don't think we need to have any sort of wholesale changes, but maybe some tweaks, because if you truly believe Marcus Satterfield's your OC, you need to maybe give him with some better support to help develop these players, because it doesn't feel like they've developed well enough, at least within the first year.
What are your thoughts on? I say this right now because we don't really have a full-time tight ends coach. Martin is kind of in a 1-year deal essentially. Now, when Satterfield was brought here, he was the OC and the tight ends coach, and with the idea that we were going to bring in a quarterbacks coach. Jake Peets didn't quite work out.
We mentioned this earlier in the show, actually.
Oh, did you? Okay, well then I'm didn't listen. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Welcome
hear that
to the show, honey.
No, but I think you go ahead and ask your question though.
Well, I was just basically. Do you think that it's not that we're looking to change OCs necessarily, or at least I'm not. I'm not trying to do that after 1 year, but does it make sense to bring in a quarterback-specific coach and let Satterfield go back to just doing tight ends and being the OC?
It's exactly where I was going. I'm like,
Dave made a great point of making that point, actually.
Okay.
And
we don't need to repeat it just because I wasn't here.
It's just like Jake Peets was the guy that was targeted. We didn't get him, They had to adjust the staff, but we have an opportunity to do some tweaks there, and maybe that can make a difference because we need to develop who we bring in and who we have on the roster to make it better, right? And that obviously wasn't Rule's first choice for a quarterback coach, and we could fix that. So
let me say one other thing with a coaching addition, and it doesn't have to be. I'm not asking for any coach to leave. This guy could be brought on as an analyst again, but this is a repeat of about 4 years ago. Anything we can do to get Bill Bush involved with the program. He's been spending this year, which is still on contract. I believe this is his. He's still getting paid from his contract there, but that I think is done at the end of this year. He's been doing the radio. He's been doing an amazing job on the radio. But Mac and I went and watched him speak about a month ago, doing a luncheon and everything. Nebraska is an absolute dream school of his, and he's worked here 3 times, and I'd feel nothing better than if he could ever work here for a 4th time in any capacity. We've seen Ron Brown, we've seen his name tossed around all kinds of times this year for the things he's helped out with this program, and he's not an assistant coach at any position. I just want to see Bill Bush somehow involved again. He's just too good, and he's right here in town, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd make tons of sense, and would think that would only help the program. All right, guys. Anything else on football? Honky, are you dying to talk a little Nebraska ball for like about 2 minutes, and then we're going to do Betcast?
Yeah, I was actually, before I came on here, I went outside, turned the TV on. I built a gazebo where the hot tub was, and so the TV outside is actually. It's got Iowa Creighton on right now, and but last night I sat out there.
You mean the Iran-Iraq War is what has Boomer called it?
Is that what he called it? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched the Rider game last night and everything, and I've been trying to keep up with what Hoiberg's doing here in year 3. It's nice to see us at 3-0, and it's nice to see a schedule that helps you get to 3-0.
Yes, they definitely built in a little bit of charm and soft to start off the season, but a lot of other schools do the same thing. Stony Brook is up next, and they are a recent Final Four team. So
was it Stony Brook in the Final Four? Are you sure? Because Stony Brook's only made the tournament one time.
I think they're pretty new, Dave. I don't even think
they only made the tournament once in 2016 and lost to Kentucky.
Who they beat? Who did they beat?
They not in the tournament. They've only been once, and they lost to Kentucky.
I think they won their conference.
Stony Brook made the College World Series. Look that up, Rob.
Maybe that's right.
That could be it.
They've made a run somewhere, but it's the wrong sport. I apologize.
Yeah, might have been rowing. We don't know here.
You know what, Dave? It's okay because I'm wrong a lot, so you're okay. You being wrong.
It was in the College World Series.
Any of our Stony Brook listeners chime in here.
Yeah.
We still got.
Well, anyway, after that, it does step up in competition. I think we have Oregon State. In the Pentagon here relatively soon.
2012, Dave. They beat LSU and shocked the world.
There you go. So sorry, sometimes you get on a thought process.
Oregon State on Saturday at 3:00 on Peacock, so you can keep your subscription for a week, and so 3:00 and then we kick off against Wisconsin that night. Football at 6:30 or something. So game should be over by then.
5:30 local time for Dave and I. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then before you know, the Big Ten will be around the corner with those early December games. So we'll know a lot quicker what this team is made of. But so far so good. Seems like the not as splashy of lands with the transfer portal, but they also seem to be pretty effective so far. So it's exciting to see, and it's a team that does look more fashioned in the mold that Hoiberg has wanted, but also still rooted in that defense first mentality that was so successful last year. So,
yeah, I mean they took last night. They had some of the offensive struggles that Boomer has highlighted with his graphs over the years. We've struggled a bit, but we had the ability to step in and kind of have a Sadler kind of defense or whatever you want to call it. We'll hold the team to 45.
8 minute run where they didn't score at all.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's different than how we were playing defense 2 or 3 years ago. So, I mean, those games, we still could have had the same offensive struggles 2 years ago, but we're giving up 65 or 70 points and we might lose that one. So, we'll take the wins right now. I love having a couple of bigs out there at the same time. I think I was texting you guys that Mass and Alec, especially Alec. He's the guy we haven't had in a long time. We've had a lot
6'8" power forward type guy, yeah.
Who doesn't have to play the 5. That's the thing. We've had some athletic 6'8" guys in the past, but he has to be our center because we don't have anyone else to have Mast out there. And there was a play last night where Mast shot the 3, and he's actually a good enough 3-point shooter that we have a big. Dave, you've wanted this since the day that Hoiberg got here, a big that can hit an outside shot. On this particular one, he misses it, but there's Alec to get the rebound, and it's like we've missed that kind of combination forever, it seems like, but definitely during the Hoiberg years. So I love seeing those two guys out there. Tominaga was his first game back, and he kind of struggled for a bit, but he'll get the rest knocked off. And I mean, there's some players on this team, but it was funny. I don't know. Somebody posted something about, the different lineups, and there's one lineup where we scored a bunch of points and then Skip on the
CJ and Alec.
So it's Parker on X. Posted crazy Nebraska ball stat. Through 3 games, Josiah Alec and CJ Wilcher have played 86 possessions together. And in those 86 possessions, Nebraska has scored 106 points and allowed 51. They average roughly 71 possessions a game. And at that rate, those 2 alone would outscore opponents 88-42 in a game. That's crazy.
I like Skip's text. Simmer down, Kem Palm. Lindenwood, number 354. Florida A&M, number 347.
Yeah, but they're doing it against the teams they're supposed to be doing it against. And you know what?
I know.
And they've covered all 3 games. They have covered all 3 games. When was the last time Nebraska started 3-0 and covered in all 3?
Hey, I'm ecstatic. I would rather be 3-0 than we're Michigan State's right now, even though,
this might be the first time in Nebraska history they've started 3-0 and covered in all 3. All right.
I don't know about that, Rob, but point taken.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start talking a little bit more about Nebraska basketball as football winds down, but it's good to start getting it on the show, and hopefully they have a good start to the season so we can really feel like there's some energy behind the program going into the heart of the Big Ten season.
You know what? And our volleyball team right now is still kicking ass. I
didn't know that, Rob. Please expound.
I mean, I don't know, man. I just wanted to make sure that we were mentioning all the good that's going on out there. Okay.
Number one team in the country.
Baseball is like recruiting like crazy. We've gotten some great signees on our baseball team.
This is why you extend your athletic director's contract.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, let's wrap up with that before we go bet.
That's great.
Honky, I mean, what do you think about Trev getting this contract? 8 years, 1.7 a year, has a bunch of other perks on there. Ted Carter struck the deal with him before he left for Ohio State. Thoughts?
I guess Gene Smith at Ohio State is leaving or has left. And so I think some of the thought was this will secure Trev from following Carter to Ohio State. I mean, it's a nice bump. It's a nice bump across the board. I just hope we have continued success with it, because every time we give one of these kind of contracts, if there's any kind of we struggle in any area, you're going to hear about it. But I guess that's what you're getting paid for. I think Trev's done an amazing job. All the things that you've seen, the articles that have been written about it today. I mean, everything from getting 92,000 to show up here for the volleyball game, breaking an international record, to the improvements we're seeing. I think it was a good thing that Carter got it done now. Extend him. It removes any other kind of questions down the road. I mean, Trev's going to be here for a good long while. So let's just remove
longer than expected almost.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think he wants to be here through all the construction stuff. And also, once you get this thing going in football, I mean, that's a year or two from now, we're going to be sitting here talking about, winning championships with Rule, right? Well, once you get it going, and we brought up the other blue bloods, the Alabamas under Saban and Stoops at Oklahoma. If you get it going, it's a pretty good world as an AD. Then if you got
Mhm.
your top program humming, and so we're not there yet, but I mean he's made the big moves to get us to where hopefully we are about a year or two away from this thing really going.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Hunk. Do you want to stick around for the Betcast? You want a parting shot?
I think
Oh,
you can
geez.
stick around. It'd be good for you.
No, I'm going to head out.
Please.
I'm going to head out
Please.
and watch the basketball game out there in the gazebo.
It's
a nice
halftime
night.
anyway, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, but no, you guys take care of it. It was just you guys look like
We
you're having some
apparently
fun.
had a compelling enough conversation that you actually wanted to join us. So I will take that as a compliment.
It's like
Absolutely.
I can't stop smiling.
All right, Hunk.
And
Get
Rob
out of
really
here, man.
needed that too. Yeah.
I did,
See you guys.
man. I'm having
All
a
right,
good
take it
day.
easy.
You made it better.
Have a good one.
Thanks for showing up.
The Betcast Picks of the Week.
All right, guys. Let's go through these in rapid fire with Honky joining the show. We're well over an hour already, so it's a lighter slate anyway. So not as many games out there. So let's just speak up if you got something to say. If not, we'll move through each one of these pretty fast. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's start Friday night. Colorado somehow trying to figure out how did they get bowl eligible. They're 4-6, going against Washington State, also 4-6, I believe. Two teams that were ranked earlier this year and have completely fallen on hard times. Wazoo favored by 4.5 at home in Pullman, over under at 64. Keep in mind, Colorado has Utah the last game of the year, so they're very long odds to be bowl eligible at all, but this might be their last chance for a win. Anyone? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think Colorado pulls it off.
Ooh, all right, taking it. All right, Boomer. What do you think?
Give me Wazoo at home. Neither of these teams are going to make a bowl, though. They both need 2 wins, and
Yeah, take the
Yeah,
over.
and then
Washington
Wazoo
State
has the
got
Apple Cup.
Washington at
You're
the end
right.
Take the over on 64.
yeah, I think they missed their window to hit a bowl. They both lost
Yep.
to Stanford, so it kind of killed them both. So
This is really their best chance, each one for a potential 5th win of the year. Well, let's take a team that already has a 5th win at home, trying to become bowl eligible. Purdue going to Northwestern. The Wildcats are 5-5, guys. David Braun is likely going to win Big Ten Coach of the Year, and I think that probably gets him an actual contract. How do you not give the guy a chance to keep this up? Because I have no idea how he's done this. Purdue actually looked much better last week with a win. So Purdue favored by 3, though, in Evanston, over under 46.5.
I like what I've seen of Northwestern. It's crazy to say that they're playing good football, and got their quarterback back last week, and they
And
looked
Brian,
they looked sharp against Wisconsin, and I think they can beat Purdue and make a bowl game. It's crazy to say that, but I don't think anyone would have ever expected them to win more than 2 games this year. And
yeah,
they're knocking on the door of bowl eligibility, and hats off to them considering what they walked into the season with. So,
And it's
Shocking.
the Big Ten West, and Purdue's going to win.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's-
Purdue
You're probably
beat
right,
Minnesota
but-
last week by handily, if I remember right. So,
that's what it is. It's the Big Ten West. Purdue's going to win, and somehow Nebraska wins their last 2 and sneaks in to become the Big Ten West champs, and we end up in Indianapolis where we beat Ohio State or Michigan, and then end up in the
there's the
Rose
Kool-Aid, folks. There's the Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid's back.
All right.
Get Honky back, and the Kool-Aid's magically returned.
That's right. All right, the Ville 9-1. Talking about Purdue, Jeff Brom's new team, Louisville, -1 going to Miami, over under at 46. Hurricanes are 6-4, I believe, and trying to salvage what they can out of a lost season. Louisville could be eyeing a New Year's Six bowl if they keep this up. What do you think about the Cards?
I mean,
go ahead, Rob. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say I picked Louisville. I think they're the better team. I mean, Miami.
It's a surprisingly low number. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's
Right.
it's only this. I'm surprised it's basically a pick 'em at this point, and Louisville's look good out there, and they've done everything to prove that. I think that they're capable of winning this game, and I think that they do because they've got their eye on the prize, while Miami is just, they went full Miami earlier this year and
true.
did the whole fumble on 3rd and game-winning
Yes.
drive. So,
Boomer, what do you think?
Yeah, give me Louisville on this one. Miami's coming off that, emotional loss to Florida State when they could have won that game. So
Yep.
Louisville's playing to, for the ACC championship berth, I guess, and another shot at FSU. So yeah, or a shot at FSU, I guess. But yeah, go ahead, give me Louisville.
All right. Utah at Arizona. Another really small line here. Wildcats by 1 at home. One of the surprise teams of the year, over under at 45. Utah trying to salvage their season a little bit. Any thoughts on this one?
I'm going to take Arizona on it. I'm riding that train.
Wildcats are on a roll. Hitching yourself to the wagon. Boomer?
Yeah, that's a tough one. God. Every time I've picked against Arizona, they end up winning. So let's just.
Will you please take Utah, please? I appreciate for the sake of me having to listen to my dad complain if Arizona loses. Please, please,
yeah,
please.
All right, fine. I'll take Utah just to make Rob happy. How about that? This is make Rob happy night here. So.
Thank you. Yes, I'm having a good day. Let's.
All right. The fun one, Illinois versus Iowa in Iowa City. The Hawks are favored by 3.5. Over under still holding up at 30.5 right now.
Take the under.
Yeah. The under keeps on hitting. Now Illinois has been scoring points though, and they have their like backup quarterback Paddock is way better than Luke Altmaier and is thrown for 500 yards a game. So really intriguing to see how this actually plays out.
Iowa's defense. He's just
we're gonna find out.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean Iowa. I would take Iowa. Maybe I would take Iowa on both the spread. Yeah, they're gonna. I would take the
that cover 3 and
yeah. I might even bet it down a little bit.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm interested to watch this. I do want to see how Iowa holds up against Illinois, who's found offense lately. I don't know if Iowa's played anyone outside of Penn State that's got an offense with a pulse so far, but they have shut down everyone they've played, and I don't know how they'll react to an over/under in the 30s. That's just kind of surprising. I don't know if they'll.
Well, this is the eyes on Big Bowl.
Yeah, that is true.
And quite frankly, do not get me wrong here. No matter what I say, I'm rooting for Illinois because they are the ones that are going to pave us our path to the Big Ten championship games.
Well, Iowa's are.
Iowa's a co-champ already, and right. Illinois, if they went out, they could win the Big Ten West too if things go the right way for them. So, That's the Big Ten West. Everybody's got a shot somehow. Even Purdue probably somehow.
Yeah. So, but I mean, at the same time, and so if we go in and we beat Iowa, I believe that it would be us who goes to the Big Ten championship.
But Iowa would clinch it if they win this game. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Fair enough.
Go Illinois.
And Boomer, do they play for something?
I don't believe so. If they do, it would be a really obscure trophy they forgot about. So.
All right. That's unusual. Yeah. All right. UGA, number 1 team in the country, given 10.5 to Tennessee in Knoxville. Over under 59.5.
First of all, I want to know what 2 SEC teams are doing playing each other this week. All right,
unacceptable. Yeah, this.
Well, they thought it was Tennessee Martin when they
booked the schedule.
Yeah. Tennessee coming off a loss to Missouri where they did not look good. Georgia been rolling. To me, this is Bulldogs all the way. I don't know.
Yeah, no question. I mean, yeah. And Georgia too. I mean, especially now that the playoff numbers are coming out, top 4, all that. I mean, Georgia has everything to lose, and they've been playing like it the last couple of weeks for sure. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tennessee.
Yep.
I hope they're volunteering to lose this week. I think that's pretty much
all right. This is the potential exit of Chip Kelly, supposedly rumored to be getting fired after this game, especially if they lose. But UCLA, crosstown freeway series here is going to USC, Memorial Coliseum. Trojans favored by 6.5, over under at 65.5. Very tempted to take the over here again, even though I lost in the USC Oregon over last week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's entertaining how they don't want to fire Chip Kelly because they don't want to screw this up, but then let it all leak out anyway. So,
yeah.
I mean, USC is good for at least pushing 30 points in this game. UCLA's just been struggling mightily lately, so I don't know what they're up to. So,
lost Arizona State last week.
Lost Arizona. Just haven't looked good for about 3 weeks now. Even Colorado, they didn't look great. So, yeah, go ahead and give me USC. They'll salvage a win out of this series at least.
These two teams are going to put up 80 points combined too, so take the over.
All right, Rob takes the over. Another rivalry game. K-State -8 going to Lawrence, take on the Jayhawks. So Kansas over under at 56.5. This is an intriguing matchup here, and two teams still playing for a lot.
Yeah, what's the status of Kansas's QB? I think that's the big question on that. Is he going to play?
Which one, I guess, for this
Well, that's
point.
a better question. Yeah, aren't they all hurt at this point? And then
Yeah, because even Bean was. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
K-State being -8 kind of reflects that potentially, I suppose.
Yeah, I think at this point, just for health issues, I'll take K-State in this. So I like Kansas a lot when they're healthy, but they're just not right now. And
Yep.
Yeah.
K-State
So
throttled Baylor last week.
Mm-hmm.
KU came back against Texas Tech. They were down 13-0. Almost were able to kind of pull that off, but lost on a field goal. All right, let's get it here with one more, and it's a late night game on Saturday. And Washington trying to continue their undefeated season, going to Corvallis, Oregon State. I think I saw this right. Maybe I put this in wrong. Oregon State -2.5. Is that right?
Well, let me go.
Let me check on
DraftKings
that. I was
while
going
you
to ask
guys-
if that was right, Dave. So yeah.
I bet it's Washington. I probably put it on the wrong side.
Yeah,
It's a tight
because
game,
this is the kind of game where that would be typical of the Pac-12 for a Pac-12 team to knock out a Pac-12 team at the very end of the season. You know what I mean? Like that would be the most Pac-12 thing in the history of the world, right there. So, I mean, I'm sure that they will figure out a way to screw this up because, I mean, they're not even in the Final Four at this point. But you're right. It is Oregon State at -2.5.
FanDuel's got a -2.5.
So,
yeah.
Obviously, Vegas knows the same thing we do.
Tells you something.
Yeah, which is that like Pac-12 knows how to screw up college football playoff better than any other conference out there right now. And, because we know that, Ohio State and Michigan play each other. And when they do, one of those teams is going to get knocked out of the playoff talk, and Washington's supposed to be the team that walks in. And now
I don't think I think Oregon is also positioning themselves to be in that Pac-12 championship game, and would love to rather have Washington there so they could beat the team that they lost to and erase that. But I think Oregon's still going to be there. I think a lot of people feel like Oregon has enough cred to get in, but that'll be interesting. But this will be a really important game here for the Pac-12 in their final season as it's constituted.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there's some kind of actual analytics used to decide this as opposed to just how these guys feel and put the in. But
we've gone down that path before, Rob. Computers have made decisions.
Well, I know, but there can be a good combination of both, and it's
they should be. They have all the data, right? It's supposed to have the human.
You would think
we don't need to debate the college football playoff at this present moment. All right, guys. Any other games that I missed?
No, those are, I think, the big ones of the week.
Yep. Wisconsin's still up to a 5.5 point favorite now. Is that right?
They are.
Wisconsin
5.
4.5 when I looked earlier today.
It was 5 earlier today when I looked, but 4.5.
Before the show was 4.5. Yeah,
between 4.5 and 5.5.
Yeah. The money line is actually moving. It's at 192, -192 now. It was minus like 201 earlier today. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it should be another good Saturday before we head into the Thanksgiving week. Let's get out of here with some parting shots. And I will start with you, Boomer. What do you got for me?
Well, it looks like Creighton's opened up a bit of a run in the second half. They're up 53-45 over Iowa when they were tied. But that's still got some slugfest back and forth. And I don't have any, thing really exciting, but I just really hope we get the win this weekend so we can get that bowl bid. You just see some of those projections out there for bowl projections, and one caught my eye just earlier today. It was I think USA Today had Nebraska versus Southern Cal in the Las Vegas Bowl a couple days before Christmas.
Oh my goodness!
Would that not be just the most exciting thing in the world to watch? You've got a top quality defense against a team that just has no defense whatsoever, and in Vegas, no less, a couple days before Christmas.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would
I've
be-
seen this in Las Vegas versus Utah too. That's another one.
Oh
we've
yeah,
seen,
yeah,
but
that would just
we
be
got to get
awesome. So-
one more victory to figure it out, but it would
Yeah.
be fun to have.
And
that.
I'd really rather get it this week just to be safe. Although if you did have to get it against Iowa, that would add a certain zest to that game. So
yeah.
at home,
Getting a victory against either one of these two teams will make the fan base forget the last two losses. Relatively,
absolutely,
I
yeah.
think. So, all right, Rob, what do you got?
Well, I just want to remind everyone it is a night game on Saturday night. As Dion Pryor here is saying that it's a crap night game. But either way, just remember, do some nice things. Wake up, make the family some breakfast, do some chores around the house, get some things done so that you can settle in and watch the Huskers secure a bowl game.
But if
All
you're
right.
in Madison, then just go ahead and drink all day. That's fine.
Yeah.
Eat some cheese curds and butter brats and yeah.
Go Big Red.
GBR. All right, guys. Great stuff. That was awesome little guest by Honky. I haven't seen that buddy in a while, so that's great. But the show is really you two at this point. So I appreciate you always joining me on the Redcast. For now, let's call that another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.